Hello, this is Jonah Rosenblum. Welcome to Portage Football Live. Let's start out the Streetsboro Rockets as we review our Week 3 action. The Rockets continue to confuse me. They looked tough in Week 1. They absorbed a tough loss at home to Kenston, albeit a very good Kenston team. Then in Week 2, they looked so fast and dominant and strong against Crestwood. And then in Week 3, they take a lopsided loss to Huron. So we will see. I'm confused by the Streetsboro Rockets, but I'm sure we'll learn plenty about them in Weeks 4 and 5. Meanwhile, guess who's back? Back again, it's the Woodridge Bulldogs, a dominant performance after falling behind 14-0 to Chagrin Falls. We saw Mason Leidick find Elijah Arnett for 3 touchdowns, DJ Snyder for 2 touchdowns. Yes, the Woodridge Bulldogs are back. Meanwhile, the Ravenna Ravens picked up a must-win against Kent Roosevelt. The Ravens were 0-2 for the playoff chase. They had to win. They did win, and they did it behind a dominant ground game. So congratulations to the Ravens. The Mogadore Wildcats, meanwhile, one of 2 3-0 teams in the county division. Barely they were able to hold off Norton. The Panthers missed a late field goal, and thus the Wildcats are 3-0. And what we saw from the Wildcats, by the way, was the additional dominant offensive line coming through in the second half, leading the Wildcats down the field. So a lot of the same old stuff from Mogadore in moving to 3-0. And you can get my full thoughts, by the way, on Week 3. I've got a column coming up on Record-Courier.com with my 8 points to take away from Week 3. In the meanwhile, this show is going to move on to Week 4. Metro Division play begins. We've got Streetsboro and Springfield. Again, I think we're going to learn a lot about the Rockets there. Also, the Metro Division play begins with Cloverleaf at Coventry. Field against a very good Norton team. Again, I think Norton has a dynamic pass attack. And then finally, Woodridge at Ravenna. On the other side of things, in the county division, we're not quite at conference play yet, but Mogadore is challenging itself to be sure. They've got a road game at Elyria Catholic, and then they host Gilmore Academy, who is 3-0. So again, Mogadore has a couple of very interesting contests coming up. We also have Crestwood, who I think has some winnable games. The Red Devils are 0-3, so it would be great for the Red Devils to pick up a win or two, get some momentum going into a very difficult county slate. And then finally, the Rootstown Rovers, they did a great job against an electric East Canton attack, shutting it down. Now the Rovers go on the road for 3 straight games against 3 straight winning teams. So a big test for the Rovers, and that starts with our number 3 matchup of the week against Newton Falls. The Tigers are 2-1. They returned 17 starters, including 9 on the defensive side. Again, Newton Falls was a really tough defense. They gave up, I think, roughly 50 points a game in 2015. In 2016, they turned that into 21 points a game. They returned nearly everyone, including Colton Hunt, their big-time inside linebacker, who is on pace to become the leading tackler in school history. So again, this Newton Falls team is a tough challenge. They also have a very good running back in Bill Wright, who was an 1,000-yard rusher a year ago. Then again, the Rovers aren't going to worry too much because they've got a great defense themselves, and they have Caleb Kaut, who absolutely exploded in Week 3. Now let's get to my number 2 matchup of the week. That's Woodridge at Ravenna. The Ravens got their running game going. They were electric in their run defense, which is critical against Woodridge, which always runs the ball well. And we saw Nate Holt continuing to look more and more comfortable. He took over for Bowen Brown, the injured Ravens quarterback. He is now in his 3rd game starting. Last week, he was able to find Kamani Jones for a touchdown, and he got actually another touchdown pass to Kamani Jones called back. But again, I think Nate Holt definitely developing comfort as the Ravens starting quarterback. And all of that's very good. They'll need it because they're going to need to keep up with Woodridge and Mason Leidick, who had 7 touchdowns a week ago. And then finally, the number 1 matchup of the week. For me, it's the game I'll be at, and it's Matthews at Wyndham. Both teams are 3-0. Matthews returns 10 offensive starters, including their entire offensive line, and quarterback Dylan Cantor, who passed for 1,000 yards a year ago. A great test for a Wyndham defense that has looked much better thus far. The Bombers gave up far too many points last year. This year, they've only given up 20 points in 3 games to the same 3 teams they gave up 80 points to a year ago. So again, the Bombers looking much better on defense. Matthews will test that, and you can catch all of our coverage at Record-Courier.com. Thank you so much for tuning in.